다음 순서로는 저희 남상훈 교수님과 함께 버지니아 기능성 게임 연구소의 공동 소장을 맡고 계시는 제임스 케이시 교수께서 기능성 게임과 게이미피케이션의 이해라는 주제로 강연해 주시겠습니다. 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
All right. Go back one slide real quick while you're getting it set up. All right. So I know it's getting close to lunchtime, so I know everybody's anxious to either get up or eat or both. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but hopefully we have a nice translation on the screen as well for folks, because I'm not going to lapse between Korean and English. I only know English, so we're stuck with that. I'm going to set up some terminology, some stuff that will really help for after lunch, when we have some additional speakers that are going to talk to you about some really cool stuff that's going on both here and elsewhere within this idea of serious games. We've heard a little bit about beyond with AI and spatial computing. We've heard a little bit about education, how AI is kind of stepping in there. I'm going to bring it back and make sure we're all on the same page for serious games and gamification, because when you hear those terms, they conjure up different things. You can go ahead to the next slide. So this is me. This was back when I was a Funko Pop, and then I changed. I became a real live boy. And then I'm an associate professor in game design. I teach production. I teach design. I do our capstone project, which is a one-year-long game, and we have some of them showing off up there. Co-director of the Virginia Serious Games Institute and Korean Serious Games Institute. My thing is, I worked in the games industry for over 12 years. So I worked for Electronic Arts, making massively multiplayer games, mobile games, etc. And then I came to George Mason. So next slide. This is where we fit in. Hopefully, some of you may know this already, but George Mason obviously is our home, right? We've got great stuff here, and we obviously have Mason Korea. Game design fits underneath that, under the College of Visual and Performing Arts. And then we come in here with the Virginia Serious Games Institute and the Korean Serious Game Institute to do things that are research, outreach, and incubation. So we want to encourage serious games, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's all the cool tech that we've already started to talk about and all the cool stuff we're going to hear later, all under this umbrella. So, all right. So my topic is exploring serious games and gamification. Again, those terms may mean nothing to you, or you may know them intimately. That's great, we're going to talk about them. I've been teaching a class in serious games this semester that was thrown on me, and my students sometimes get these confused because you hear these terms and they sound like you know what they are, but we're going to talk about them a little bit more, again, to set you up for later. Go ahead, next. So let's define our terms. Go ahead. We're going to start with traditional games, right? Old school, everybody here plays games, right? Play games, raise your hand, raise your hands, come on. I might be giving you points if you're playing along. All right, come on, you guys, none of you play cards or sports or any of those things, traditional games. Come on, everybody here has to have played traditional games. Maybe you didn't even like it, but you played them, right? Then you've got the new school, the digital stuff, the video games, the things that we teach, right? You know, a lot of these are older ones because I'm older and I remember those, right? But we still have some new ones like Minecraft, etc. But what do games all have in common, right? That's what we're here to talk about. Next slide. They're fun. The games we traditionally hear about, when somebody says games, it doesn't matter if it's stuff you're playing cards, it doesn't matter if it's Monopoly, which everybody hates, it doesn't matter. They're there to entertain and engage us. So let's talk about them briefly, because you can't talk about serious games without understanding why games are so great. So on our next slide here, This is a quick history of games. This is everything you need to know about games. Started off with Rocks in the Dirt, Mancala. We got Monopoly, we had Magnavox, one of the first game consoles, we went to phones, and now we have the metaverse. That's it, that's all you need to know. Well, there's a lot more than that, obviously, and these are all M1s for some reason, but these are all evolution. But it shows games have been around forever. And the best part is, games are a big business. Next one. If you're not aware, games make more than movies and music combined every year. So games make $187 billion every year. Now, if OpenAI could make that kind of money, they would be very happy. Now they have, what, 800 million, weekly users or whatever. We have single games out in the games industry that have like 150 million people that play a day. So again, huge, huge business opportunity. People want to be engaged, people want to be entertained, and it has become one of the dominant industries for that. And if you look at the next slide here, it's everywhere. We play them here, even though you guys wouldn't raise your hands for it. We play them in the Americas. We play them, every continent has games and love games, and it's only going up. So again, I'm not here to evangelize or really promote these games, but you have to understand where we're coming from and why they are so successful. So next slide. You see the phones that we all love and everybody has in their hands and they're using for various reasons has become almost the dominant form of playing games because it's so easy. You can play crosswords, you can play Candy Crush, you can play these huge, massive games now because our phones are more powerful than most computers that I had when I was young. And so now you can play games anywhere. And so this is really good. Next slide. So what are serious games? We talked about all this great stuff that games do and why it's a big business, but what are serious games? So if we look at this next slide, games are everything. Now, we talked about entertainment and engagement, but that's just a small part of what they can do. Even entertainment games can do some of these other things in here, like teach you, or train you, or simulate things, or present content, or become a teaching assistant, or become a way to get you information. And so when we talk about serious games, it's kind of this overlap of all these different things that are available that games can do well. And so, next slide. Really, when we talk about serious games, it's games and applications where the primary goal is not entertainment first. It can still be fun and engaging. In fact, it probably should be, because if you are engaged, you will learn more. If you can get your students, or even your coworkers interested in something, they are going to take something away from it. And so entertaining and engaging and using the motivators that games in general bring to the table are absolutely needed, but we can use them for so much more. For example, tons of industry. You got corporate and HR. They've always done traditional kind of training. Now they're looking at how do we use game technologies and AI and some of these new things so that, we used to go into a human resources training and they're like, all right, we're gonna role play, and everybody cringed and everybody hated it. And now you can create AI avatars and NPCs, and you can do it from anywhere, and you can hopefully make it fun. But, oops, go back. But, there's exercise, there's health, there's education, there's recruitment, there's games for change. We could try to take something that people care about, like climate change, and make it fun and exciting and hopefully change their behavior. Because at the end of the day, in any kind of educational sense, we are trying to change people. We're changing their minds, we're changing their education, we're giving them information, we're hopefully translating it to knowledge and things like that. And all of these things are great uses where gaming technology, becoming so prevalent, is being used more and more. Okay. Then you've heard the term gamification. Some people hate this term, some people think of it as it's kind of eh. Well, what is it and how is it different than serious games? Well, let's look. If we just go by definition, it's kind of small here, it's just saying, hey, we're going to take what makes games fun and we're going to put them into real-world situations. That might be scoring, competition, rewards. So, if we wanted to make this gamified, we could say, you know what? We could give points to whoever raised their hands the most, or we could give XP or experience. There could be prizes for being the best person keeping eye contact. Like, there's ways we could gamify this. You can gamify almost everything. They've done it with like exercise with the Fitbits that they have, where they were keeping track, and they would do leaderboards. You hear about Peloton, and they have these live services where people are competing and working with each other. Taking things games do well, but applying them to a non-game situation to gain those same benefits, and that's gamification. And so, simply, we use what games do well psychologically, and I realize that's kind of small here, but again, non-game activities become more engaging. And that's really all it is. So let's go to the next one. So yeah, we're talking about a lot of crazy stuff, right? And even students that love games sometimes get stuck on these. So let's look at this as far as a spectrum of games. So if we look at the next slide, you've got your traditional games, whether they're digital or analog, yeah, they're just fun. And then we start to put other goals in charge, like education or healthcare or changing your mind about something really important, and that's serious games. And then if we take a little bit of that fun out and we make it more of a just simulation, so like we're going to teach you how to do this thing on the factory floor so the robots won't take over for you. And we're going to simulate it. It may not be as fun, but it uses some of those same technologies, and we can still add in some of the mechanics of games to try to keep people interested. The Air Force has to teach you how to fly their jets, but they lean into some of this kind of gamification by taking a simulation and then adding in elements like leaderboards and putting people to fight against each other within that element, so that again, it's leaning into their motivation. So if you kind of think about it, games as a spectrum, non-game, real-world activities, but game technology, or philosophy, psychology, a little bit of technology, everything together, and then we just go for fun. But it's a nice spectrum to think about. And as you start to see some of the things we talk about later, keep this in mind. Next. The serious games market is not as big as the regular games market. Like if it's 180 billion, serious games market is about 18 billion. But it's also hard to quantify because it's used in healthcare and government and education and retail and marketing. It's used all over and in different ways. And the thing is, with a normal game, I sell it, you give me money, it's very easy to track. But if I make a serious game about teaching you how to save lives in the ER, how do I track revenue for that? How do I track that? Is it the cost of making it? Is it the amount we're saving? It's really hard to quantify. So this market, even though it seems smaller than the bigger games market, potentially can be much, much bigger, and we're embracing these technologies every day to increase this. So, all right, next. Again, this is a lot of stuff. You're not going to be able to read it from here. You can look at it later if you want to, but there are tons of different places. There are tons of different ways that games are being used. I mean, back in the US, I don't know if it was global or not, but McDonald's just had their Monopoly game. That, so you come in, you buy your Big Mac and all that, and they give you pieces, and you try to win prizes. And it's just gamifying the experience of selling you burgers. And again, fits in there under advertising games and things like that, but you wouldn't necessarily think about that. But really, they are leaning in to the rewards and this mechanism that games bring to the table. And so even though it's not fancy or fun like Fortnite or things like that. Games and these kinds of psychological things that people are motivated by are being used in lots and lots of industries. Next. So what does it all mean? It means I'm going to probably be done in time for lunch. Yes, perfect. But games are everywhere. Even though you won't raise your hands, you've all played games. You may not have played Atari like I did way back in the day. You may not play Xbox like I do today, or maybe you play on your phone or whatever, that's fine. Games are everywhere. And games motivate you and they engage you. That's why when people look at serious games and taking this philosophy, psychology of games, they're really putting it out there in a way that'll hopefully do the same for whatever it may be, health, medicine, daily tasks, etc. So we're taking everything games do well and we're applying it to other goals. And that's really all it is. And gamification is that same idea, except we're just doing it in a place where you don't expect games. And so that's kind of the spectrum of that. And so with that in mind, we're going to end up hopefully right on time. I know we have a luncheon out in the outside right there, so we're going to invite you to go have some lunch, chat amongst yourselves, chat with us. When we come back, we're doing a fireside chat, and then we have a little break, and then I think we have a few more lectures. And again, based on these definitions, hopefully, when they start to show you some of the cool stuff being done, not only here but elsewhere, everything will click. Awesome? Let's eat.
감사합니다, KC 교수님.